Hello, everybody. My name is John Grace, and I'm from North52. And today's webinar, we're going to be giving you a little bit of a background for what North52 does, especially our product business process activities. And we're going to give you some demos into some upcoming features that we're releasing next week. So hopefully, there's some really good demos there for people. Actually, just to mention as well that just housekeeping. If you've got any questions during the presentation, just use the chat. You'll see it here in Zoom, and just send a message. Bruce Buxton from North52 is on as well, and Bruce will pick up any questions and hopefully answer you. And if we can't answer any questions, we'll do a follow up. And I'll take some pauses as well to ask Bruce, is there any questions?
John, just following on that, can everyone send messages either to everyone or private message me, please? Don't send them to John.
Yeah, that would be useful. Okay. So the key purpose for today is that we're going to be doing a new release on the 1st of December, so next Monday, and so Microsoft has got a big convergence conference in Barcelona, so we're launching at the conference. So we're going to be over at the conference as well. So if anybody wants to come over to our booth, number 53, to see some demos or just ask questions, you're more than welcome to, and that'd be great. So as I mentioned earlier, we're an ISV, a Microsoft ISV, so we develop add-ons for Dynamics CRM. And the core product that we have is we've written an advanced business rules engine for the Dynamics CRM. So what does that mean? That means instead of you having to write thousands of lines of C# or JavaScript code, you can easily just do it using writing like Excel-like formulas. Just mute everyone again. So it's just a lot more, it makes you a lot more productive in creating your business rules. And what we're trying to do is give you an out-of-the-box experience, just like how Microsoft provide with like point and click and drag and drop. We're trying to do the same for advanced business rules. With most Dynamics CRM projects, again, Dynamics CRM is fantastic. You can create your entities, create workflows, create dialogues, but for nearly all projects, there's some custom coding involved, whether it's C# or JavaScript or some integration that you need to do. And this is what really adds a lot of time to projects, a lot of expense, and just adding a lot of risk to your projects. So what we've tried to do is take that risk, expense, and time factor out of the equation and just make it all like what Microsoft have themselves, a point and click kind of interface to develop advanced business rules. And then if you look at it from a CRM partner point of view, so like your gold partners, silver, President's Club, Inner Circle, the problem is even more exacerbated for them. They're trying to find good people. CRM people is really hard. You try and create some reusable libraries. Nearly all of the team here at North52, worked for Gold Partners years ago using CRM back in version 3 days. And we had our own reusable libraries, and we said there has to be a better way to do this. So that's where we came up with the idea for business process activities and to be able to bring this capability to the Dynamics CRM, rather than having to, have hardcore developers create the logic for you. So the core solution we came up with, it's a managed solution. So it's a single zip file that you can install into your CRM system. There's no additional servers that need to be provisioned or configured. There's no additional client utilities that you need to download onto your PC or laptop. It just all sits natively within Dynamics CRM. So that gives us a great advantage in terms of, for any of your functional consultants or your BAs or your even developers, they're used to going in creating workflows in Dynamics CRM or dialogues or entities, and we've put all our formula editor UI and all our business rules into Dynamics CRM, so it has the same look and feel. So your staff should be able to get up to speed a lot more quickly. just a slide on just some of our clients who rely on us. People always ask us, who's using North52 BPA, and just two call outs here. One is to Metrobank. So Metrobank they were the case reference study from Microsoft for CRM 2013 and 2015. So they're using CRM Online. They're actually a retail bank in the United Kingdom, so they're super high profile for Microsoft, and they use North52 extensively on their CRM system. And one of the reasons that they use us, and they've got 2 MVPs on their team, so they've got lots of experience. But what they found was by using North52 to create the business rules, it freed up their development team to do higher value items. And for them, it was create a custom Windows 8 app, so that when somebody came into the bank, they would interact with the Windows 8 app, and having their really good developers work on that rather than working on kind of like business rules within CRM. That was a great advantage to them. And then the second point I just want to call out, people ask us, who's your biggest or one of your biggest installations? So there's one of our customers, there's just over 6,500 users, there's 8 application servers, so 8 sandbox systems, and there's 1/4 terabyte of RAM on the SQL Server. So that's quite a chunky operation they have there, and they use North52 extensively to do their business rules and to do their calculations. And that one it's a true 24/7 operation. They get like 1 hour of downtime a week that has to be scheduled if they want to do an upgrade. So it's a very intense, it's really an XRM type system. So that's just on that. We're up on Pinpoint, so if you want to just go up and see any of the reviews that people have put to us, you can easily see it. Let me just mute everybody again. So this is the most important slide that we have. So what we're trying to show here is what's kind of like a typical CRM or XRM type project for Dynamics. And again, Microsoft CRM out of the box, it's very cool. You can do probably 70% of your project just using the out of the box options. Creating entities, workflows, dialogues, the business rules that they have, etc. But you'll always find, for any anything more than a trivial project, that you need some custom coding or custom configuration. So that's where North52 BPA comes in. So we reckon we can take about the next 25% of that. And then there's always like 5% that requires completely custom coding, that you'll have to get your own developers involved, for items like calling an Oracle store procedure, or maybe calling a SOAP-based web service, items that we're not going to support, or we're not going to do, at least right now. Of the 25% that BPA can do, we've got 77 pillars that we speak about. So the first one is Formula Manager. That's where it all started. And there's really, this slide is slightly out of date. There's actually over 300 functions now that are in the Formula Manager. So that's got functions. If you've ever needed to get the last day of the month, that's not an out of the box feature from Microsoft CRM, but we provide that to you as a function that you can use in any of your formulas. So just lots and lots of functions for common tasks. The second pillar is Process Genie. So that's where you want to call one of our formulas within a workflow, a dialogue, or an action. So again, a good example is get last day of the month. So you might be inside in your workflow and you have 5 or 6 steps. And then there's step number 7 maybe, and you want to get the last day of the month to be able to update an entity. What you can do with Process Genie, because Process Genie is really just a custom workflow activity, you can drop in a Process Genie as a step in your workflow. It will calculate the last day in the month. So now you can use that date time field to update your entity or do other calculations with. So just workflows, dialogues, and actions. So very powerful. Scheduler then. So if you've ever needed the ability to run a batch job at 2 a.m. every night, we've got a scheduler which will do that for you. And this all runs in the sandbox, like I mentioned earlier on. So there's no extra components to install, service to provision. All runs in the sandbox, and it's all It's all supported by Microsoft. There's no tricks that we're doing or anything like that. And just an example of a schedule, again, going back to the Metro Bank example, they run a schedule every night to look for accounts that are overdrawn. And if the account is overdrawn, then they want to kick off a workflow. So maybe 1,000 accounts that are overdrawn today. So kick off one workflow per account to do some follow-ups. And the scheduler, it's you can configure it daily, weekly, monthly. And there's a lot of scalability to our scheduler. So if you really need to hit like 1 million records, we can do that for you in a very performant way. So we can run schedules in parallel, but we can also run it during kind of the middle of the day during your working hours. So you can have like Metro Bank's a good example. They have a couple of thousand users, working throughout the day, and they're using the scheduler. And we won't, take over the CRM system by kicking off lots and lots of workflows. We can throttle it in effect. So there's a lot of smarts built in there to protect yourself. The next pillar is Smart Flow. So Smart Flow, the best way to think about it is it's like workflows in Dynamics CRM, where a workflow has steps. So you step to create a record, update a record, send an email, etc. So with Smart Flow is we've got steps as well. And the steps can use any of the 300 functions that we've created. So you might have a step to retrieve all the accounts in the CRM system. Then you might want to loop over all those accounts and synchronize the address on the account down to all the contact records. And then you might have another step then on the contact record to kick off workflow. So multiple steps. Actually, a better example there is around we had a customer, they were doing insurance settlements. So if somebody they had contract, it was for insurance for fleets of cars. So you might have a contract for 12 months and somebody wants to break the contract maybe halfway through, so 6 months through, you have to calculate the settlement amount, like to get out of the contract, how much would it cost? And they had like these, 8 or 9 steps, calculations that they had to do. So we had to look up data in different entities in CRM. So a data to get the admin fee, an entity to look up to get the number of months remaining on the contract, an entity to get the original cost of the contract. And we gather all this data like step by step and then perform a calculation at the end to work out what the settlement amount was. Again, you'd have to write lots of C# code to do that in Dynamics CRM, and we just make it all point and click with our editor. Xcache then is very important around configuration of data. So, over and over again, you'll see in Dynamics CRM systems, as an example, you want to connect CRM online to SharePoint online. Where do you store the username and password for the SharePoint user that you want to connect as? So we've got Xcache where you can store any of that configuration data. The same if you want to store like VAT rates or GST or sales tax percentages. So like for every transaction, they add, let's say, 9% sales tax. Where do you store that 9%? And how do you make it configurable over time? So it's 9% for the year 2015, but for 2016, the government decided to put it up to 12%. How do you store, how do you configure it, and how do you reference it? So Xcache takes care of a lot of that. And actually, Xcache is it's for the technical folks, it's a distributed cache running within the sandbox. So in that example I gave you of the customer with 8 application servers, we'll have a cache going across those. There's actually 8 individual caches, but they're all synchronized across all 8 instances, so it's the same data that you're requesting. So it just makes CRM, especially CRM Online, go very, very fast. The next pillar is Web Fusion. So Web Fusion allows us to call any REST-based web service. So 2 good examples of that is if you ever had the need to send an SMS message from Dynamics CRM. So what we can do with one of our formulas with Web Fusion is there's lots of telcos out there. One of them is Twilio. And what you can do is you can send them or you can call their web service and send the mobile telephone number on the contact and maybe a piece of text in a workflow, or maybe some entity that you have, a message that you want to send them. So you make that web service call, you send those two pieces of data, and they will send the SMS message on your behalf, and then you can get the response back and process it into CRM as well. And then the other good example around web services is cleaning your data. So if you've ever had the need, you've got all your accounts in CRM, you've got all your address 1, address 2, address 3, city, state, zip. Maybe somebody has spelled New York wrong. So what you can do, or maybe you have the zip code wrong, you can take that address within CRM, call out to a web service. Some common ones are Melissa Data and Smarty Streets are and Strike Iron actually in the United States, very, very common ones. And they will return you back the cleaned and verified address. So New York would be spelled correctly, or the zip code would be correctly formatted or whatever. And again, just all using point and click UI. And then the last item, which is the one we really want to show in the demos today, is decision tables. So a decision table, it's basically it's like an Excel. Well, it is an Excel format for storing business rules. So instead of a lot of if else that you might see in the business rules in Dynamics CRM or in C#, you just have rows and columns within an Excel spreadsheet that define all the business rules. So it should be very instantaneous when you look at a decision table what it's doing. And I've got plenty of examples and demos that I'm going to show you later on for that. So they're the 7 pillars. So that's like the core of what business process activity does. Just on our advantages, the only one I really want to say here is about you deploy out some business rules, some formulas. So it's all going great for the first 6 months, and then the business team come back and they say, John, you know what? There's been a new regulation change, and we need to change some of the formulas, the business rules that we put out. Using North52, instead of having to open up, first find the developer who wrote the code originally. If you're doing a custom job, find the developer, find the code in TFS, check it out, make the changes, get the unit tests in place, get it deployed out to your dev servers, and go through all those procedures. It's a lot easier. It's at least 10 times easier to be able to just come in to Dynamics CRM, open up the formula in CRM, make the change, apply your testing inside there, and start getting it deployed out to your test and your production systems. So it's just significantly faster. It's just like, if you're doing a dialogue or workflow in CRM and somebody asks you to make a bit of a change to it, it's a lot easier if you can just use the CRM native UI to do it, rather than having to fire up Visual Studio to be able to make a change, or even some JavaScript code. This is just one sample that we really like to show people. We got this is going back nearly 2 years ago now, where we got some feedback from a company. They were a prospect, and they had a CRM system, I think since version 4, and the sales guys really didn't like the CRM system. And one of the reasons was that they were coming in and the sales guys were creating orders within the CRM system. So they create the order, pick out the price list, and then they would have to add 10 to 15 line items on the order. And if you remember back in the CRM 4 days, and even today, there's quite a lot of a lot of clicking. You got to add the product, to open windows, close it down, etc., etc. So we added this one formula to the create event of the order entity, so that what the formula says is, so it's for each record, so it's a loop. It says, find me all the products associated with this price list. So it brings back maybe 12 products. Then it loops over those 12 products and it creates the line item for the order. So this was fantastic. So now the experience for the sales guy was, he came in, created his order, picked out his price list, he clicks save, and when the save completes, automatically the 12 line items are created for him. So now the sales guy is absolutely delighted, because he can come in and he can just change the quantity, change the discounts, maybe delete a line item if he wants, and he's done, and he's away onto his next job. And that this one formula really helped to, get the CRM system engaged with the salespeople. And it took about 5 minutes to write that formula, so it was pretty easy. The other item that we have, we only launched these a couple of months back, so maybe not everybody knows about them, but we have North52 apps. So whatever we see the need for, where you might need 1 or 2 custom entities and maybe 4 or 5 different formulas, what we've decided to do is wrap those up into a little managed or unmanaged solution if you want. And you can download them from our website for free. So if you needed an app, to send SMS messages, we've got one done for you already, and you can just go up, download it, import it into your CRM system. You need to do some configuration to connect to your telco provider like Twilio, but 90% of the work is done. And the same for the Quick Button app. Again, a lot of these apps, they're like feedback we get from customers saying, we really would love to have just a dedicated button on the form rather than using the command menus. So we just created a little Quick Button app, and then using the North52 SDK, we're able to call our formulas from that button on the form. And so an example of that is where actually people want to kick off dialogues. That was one of the first requests we got, where the users would come in and they just wanted a big button on the form. You click the button and it starts the dialogue. And those buttons as well, they're really cool because they'll work on like the iPad app. So that new iPad app that Microsoft has, those buttons will appear, because it's really just a custom web resource. So now in your iPad app, you can see that button, process expense. So a manager, it makes it, very easy for them to know what to do. They just click the button. It's going to call the formula maybe to execute a workflow, and it'll start to do the workflow process. So just very, very useful. And there's more of those coming in 2016. We've got a list as long as your arm to do. So that was just it on the slides. Just to give you a brief introduction for what we do at North52. I'm going to go on to the demos now. Bruce, was there any questions that we wanted to take?
Nothing at this stage.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Bruce. So let's just pop out. So this is Dynamics CRM. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. It's CRM 2015 Update 1. And we're running with CRM Online. So just for the new people who might not be familiar with North52, this is the managed solution that gets installed. So you can download this off our website. We may or may not have to give you a license key depending on what functionality you require, but you install this as a managed solution, and it's got all our logic and our core engine sits inside in this managed solution. We also install a deployment solution, which is just a default one. So for the formulas, for the schedules, for the Xcache records, where we store them, and this solution, we use the same paradigm that Microsoft used for moving, entities, for the same for formulas and schedules to go between development to test to production. You just export out the solution, import it into your production environment, click publish all, and you're ready to go. So we use the same as Microsoft, and that gets us a lot of benefits. Again, why we're native and like all in on Dynamics CRM is the same source control management system that you have for your let's say your JavaScript, your images files. You can use the exact same for your formulas, schedule, and Xcache records. So everything can be completely managed using the exact same process that you're using, whether it's TFS, maybe you're using, or Perforce, or any one of these. So we try to make it fit in with your environment. We also just install this menu here to have people easily navigate around. So you can see here, it's just a set of quick links really. You can open up our configuration file, open up our search, our search or trace log. And then there's just some quick links if you want to quickly create an auto number type formula, or a safe to parent type formula. There's a whole bunch of them there. Same for the schedules, etc., etc. So that's just what gets installed. So the first example I'm going to show you today, so I'm just going to go to list of formulas. So it signed me out for some reason. Let me just log back in. just logging me in. Go back to formulas. So you can see here we've also got a sitemap where we've got our core, formulas, schedules, Xcash records. So I'll just click on formula. So we use an entity in CRM to store all the formulas. So it works just like you'd expect within CRM. So it's a very native UI. And the first example I'm going to show you today is around eligibility. So eligibility is very common in CRM type projects, and what eligibility is like, do you qualify or are you entitled to something? And in this case, we're a financial services company is the example, and they're working out, are you eligible for a platinum credit card? So this is just for new people who might not have seen North52 before. This is the editing experience that we have within Dynamics CRM to be able to create your formulas. And for like 95%, you never have to leave this screen. So you can configure the vast majority of your business rules just in this one screen. It's very, very powerful. It's broken up into 3 main sections. So you can see here on the right-hand side, we have what we call the registration, or when is the formula or the business rule going to be triggered. So it's got a save perform action is this type, which really means it's going to be a plugin in effect. It's going to execute on the server side. It could be client side as well. We've got that capability if you needed to do it, like in the on-change event of a field in a form. And then we have got all the events. So this one is just create an update. So, but you can configure others. We then say which entity do we want the trigger to be placed on. So this one is just contact, and we've got all custom entities as well, as you'd expect. And then you can also specify exactly when does this decision table execute. So it'll only be if the annual income changes, if the credit score changes, or if the total assets of the applicant changes. So if any one of those 3 change on the contact entity, we'll execute the decision table. So, and that's really for performance issues. You can make it, really zone into when you want it to execute. Then we get to the main logic, which you can see here is the decision table. So it kind of looks like Excel. It's a very familiar look and feel to people. So what we've done is we've got columns and rows. So we've got these conditions, and we have actions. So we have a condition, and we have one here called annual income, total assets of applicant, and credit score. And then we have a row, and this row makes up the kind of the rule that you want to implement. So this row that I've highlighted, it says if the annual income is less than 100,000 and the total assets of the contact is less than 500,000, then they need to have a really high credit score of 188. And if it is, so if these are all true, then there's an option set on the contact entity called credit card type, and we set that to platinum. So that means they're entitled, they're eligible for a platinum one. And then just down the bottom, if you have over $200,000 as a salary and you've got over $1 million in assets, then you need a much lower credit score. So it's just 112, and will allow you to become a platinum card holder. So that's pretty cool. So let me just give you a quick demo, just showing you that. So I go to sales, go to contacts, and open up Scott. Hopefully he's blank. He is, yeah. So if we just put in an annual income of 50,000, assets of 250,000, and a credit score of 176, let's say, and I hit save. So that should work out. So what's happening when I hit save is the decision table is executed behind the scenes. And actually you can see that this one, he didn't actually qualify as a platinum. Because there's another decision table there, he actually qualified as gold. So actually if I just increase this to 678, hit save. So you can see when I upped the credit score, it went to the other decision table, kicked in, overrode the gold one, and it set it to platinum. So that's just showing you in operation. So just some of the items to call out on the decision table. When a business rule changes, So somebody comes back and they say this decision table looks good, but we forgot to add in that you need to be over 18 years of age to qualify for a credit card. So we need to add in that condition, that new condition, into the decision table. Now, age is a number, like 18 years of age, 25 years of age. So we don't store that number. We don't have a field in CRM to do that. With the latest version of CRM, you can actually put a calculated field on there and put a formula in there to do it. But then you're creating a field and you're only allowed so many on your entity, and in a real world environment, you're going to run out very, very quickly. So what we can do is we can allow you to extend the data model and create that type of calculated field just for this decision table. And this will all execute in memory, so it'll be super, super fast. So what we do is we go to calculations and we say we want a calculation called age. And what we can do is, so the third part is over here on the left-hand side, we've got functions, source, and explore. So you can see all our functions here. So I'm going to search for the date diff function. And again, some of you might know this search feature is a new feature that's going to be released on Monday. Because we're getting like over 300 functions, we said we really needed a search facility to see what functions we have. So we bring in date diff. So you can see when I hover over the date diff, it gives me just some contextual help. So I can see I need a from date, a to date, and I need an interval. So the interval I want is years. And it gives you some examples as well. So I'm going to put in here the from date. So the from date, we want the date of birth of the contact. So, is he over 18? So go to source and see all the nodes I have. So I go to source and I scroll down. I'm going to find birthday. So this is like the out-of-the-box field from Dynamics CRM. So you can see it brings that into the calculation. And the to date. So what I need to do, I need to get the current date time. And I actually need to get the UTC time because it's stored in UTC in the database. So I go back to functions and I can just type in UTC and I can click on the UTC date time. Yep. So that brings in that function. And then we've just put in Y for years. So let's do home. So we've now just extended the data model and are after adding in an extra field called age based on a formula. So now I can go back to my decision table. And you can see here we have this, I just right-clicked on the decision table. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a new condition. So I bring in the condition. Then I go back to my source. And if you look under, where is it, calculations, I can click age. And now I've just brought that age, that calculation into the decision table. So now it's pretty easy. I just need to do greater than 18 and just bring that down. So now you can see that I've just extended the decision table to say that you have to be over 18 years of age to be able to qualify for a platinum or for any credit card. Just one other item as well. Let me just kill this one. So you can see here we've got a set of menu options, insert row, insert condition, action, delete row, so I'm going to take the delete column. So one of the items I just wanted to show you is, how easy it is to create these decision tables from scratch. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to copy this into my clipboard and then delete it. And then just delete all this. So how would we, if I was at a blank canvas, I just want to kind of show you the experience. So the first one we needed was their annual income. So again, how would you build it from scratch? So we'd go to source, and again, it's just all point and click. And they're all here. So I find annual income. I bring in the annual income. Then the next one was the total assets of the applicant. Total assets. Bring in that value. And then condition, the last one was the credit score. So let's find the credit score. Credit score, John. There he is. So these are our conditions. And then we would go ahead and we would write the rules. So I'll just Control V those in there, just to save time. And just to call out that I guess most people can work out, we have 500,000 here to 1 million. So anything in double brackets is a betweens. So that's just like a shortcut to be able to do that. And then we need to set up the action. So what's on that? So we have here's the option set for that. So we bring in the credit card type, and then you can see here we've got all the options on the option set. So gold, platinum, and standard. So I bring in platinum. So that's pretty cool. And then I drop that down. And there, so I've just recreated that decision table. So hopefully you can see there how easy it was to do it. And actually, I meant to call out sooner. There are, in this basic one, there are 36 decision points. So you have 3 columns and you have 12 rows. 12 threes, 36. So the decision tables really represent, lots of business points and decisions in a very compact format, and it's easy to see. And actually, if I just want to add back in that condition, let's just back in the age quickly. Add in age greater than 18, and then that a bit longer. So then the next business rule, the next, it's a month later, and they say to the dev team, we need to, whenever somebody gets assigned a platinum card, we need to do a follow-up workflow to send out some documentation that they need to sign. So we need to, and the team already have a workflow that does that, and they're manually kicking it off. But they said, why can't we just build it into the decision table itself? So how can we call a workflow? So we've got our actions. So if I go to actions and we'll give it a name, send paperwork. So we do send paperwork. And then we'll go back to functions. So we have a function. So we have a function called execute workflow. So I'm able to bring that in. So I just need to type in the name. And actually, one of the really cool things about North52 is, nearly everything goes off names. So there's all these issues around GUIDs, and if you've got a workflow and it references a team inside in the workflow, there's a GUID assigned to that behind the scenes. So when you deploy it from your development system to your production system, the workflow will actually break. We take care of all those types of issues for you seamlessly. So we really do try to make your life a lot easier. And then we need to pass in the GUID of the record. So if we go back to source, and I'm going to go to we're on the contact entity, so we need to GUID of the contact. So contact. So I'll bring that in there. We just do the mute again. Just kill people off. So now you've just seen that I've brought in an action to execute the workflow, send paper. Actually, send paperwork. So now I can go back to my decision table, and I can add in an action. And I just go up to source. For my actions now, I've got send paperwork. And I can drag that down. So you can see how easy it was just to extend the decision table to start sending a workflow when the conditions were met. And then it might be, actions, if their annual income is over 2 million, they're a big spender, let's say. So you might have a slightly different workflow for those guys. You can see how easy it is for me. You can see how easy it is for me just to be able to add that in. So just for this one, I'm going to get rid of that. We bring in big spender. So you can see how we just slightly changed it for someone that's over an annual income over $200,000. So hopefully you can see, trying to make your life a lot easier. So this all looks pretty good right now. Most people would be happy with that, and this is fantastic functionality, but can we do better? So one of the things is the data, all the values are hard-coded. So if we look here at the credit score, these are all hard-coded into the decision table. So we wouldn't consider that a best practice. What we really want to be able to do is separate the the logic of the decision table and the underlying data, so that if the credit scores change, you don't change the logic of the decision table. You don't go and edit the decision table. You just change the underlying data, and that's great for separation of concerns, because you might have kind of like your dev team looking after the decision table itself, but the BAs or the functional consultants, they can modify the data, so like the credit scores. So it's great for separation of concerns. And a typical thing with credit scores is the scores we're looking at right now might be the 2015 scores. But when 2016 comes along, there might be a different set of scores. So how do you do that seamlessly within the decision table, and to have it just work? So what we can do, so let me just go back to my list of formulas. So let me just open up the gold card one, where I've just slightly extended it to pick up on this notion of configuration data. And what we're going to be using is Xcache behind the scenes to store all this configuration data. So you can separate the two apart. So you can see this is the decision table for a gold card, very, very similar to the first one, except instead of hard coding in the values, you can see here I'm using an Xcache reference. So you can see like eligibility gold card tier 1. So if I actually get rid of that and just show you how I brought it in, so it's greater than, and again if I go under, there's Xcache, the eligibility gold card. So you can see here all my configuration data. So I can just bring in tier 1, and then you just do the same for all the others. So that's now we've just separated the two concerns. So what that looks like in CRM itself. So if I just go settings, Xcache. So here you can see, let me just highlight for you. Here's our configuration data for that gold card for the eligibility, and you can see here's the scores: 88 for tier 1, 80 for tier 2. So it's not hard coded anymore into the decision table. So if I just show you and open up one of these, so that there's a lot to Xcache and what it can do, and so I'm just going to keep it really simple for this one. Just there's a category and there's a base key. There's some other items here, and what we have is we have a value. So we've set it to 88, and we've set the data type. So this one just so happens to be whole number. If you needed it secure for some reason, we do have a secured area to store the values, like for passwords and items like that. And we're just using field FLS, field level security from Microsoft to do that. But one of the interesting things is this start date. So you can see that this Xcache record is effective from 1/1/2015 onwards. So if I just go back, so you'll see here that the start date, all the Xcache records are set to the start of this year. So what would we do if the credit card scores change in 2016? How do we handle that? How would a functional consultant handle that? And this is one of the great advantages for North52 being native to Dynamics CRM, is we can take advantage of a lot of the features that Microsoft bring out. So if I just do a quick filter, so just those ones, and then I can do export to Excel Online. And what I can do here is I can come in and I can just select the data, Control C, Control V. So now I've just duplicated my data. So the 2016 scores, I'm just going to make them up obviously for right now. So there's the 2016 scores, and then I just need to come over and I just need to manipulate the dates. So I need to close off this year, 31/12. That's the other way around, isn't it? 12/31/2015. And then I would just copy that all the way down for the existing records, and then for the new ones, I just come in 1/1/2016, and obviously copy that down for all those as well. And then you would just click the Save to Changes in CRM, so it would upload that Xcache data into CRM. So the great advantage is, just go back here, this reference, eligibility gold card tier 1, when we're in the 2015 year, Xcache is smart enough to know I need to pull the 2015 credit score. But as soon as we tick over into 1/1/2016, it will start to use the 2016 credit score, so like 123. And we'll just do that for you automatically and seamlessly. So very, very powerful around the configuration parts for that. The next part, so, just wanted to show you, people always ask us, can you do like OR statements in the decision tables? So just to give you an example of that, insert condition, I'll do that one. Go back to my source. So let's say the freight terms, or shipping method would be a better one. So if you wanted to be able to, so let's bring in that field. So let's say you want to be able to do a match on airborne and DHL, that's all you need to do. And you can bring in another one like FedEx. So you can just add in, and then it'll do, if it's equal to any one of those, then it'll equal true overall. So very, very powerful for that. If I just delete that column, the other item I just wanted to call out was, how do we handle null data or empty values? If you're familiar with North52, you probably know what I'm kind of going to show you. I can toggle the advanced mode. So in the advanced mode, you can see here's the underlying field, and you can see here's .0. So that means we've applied a default. If somebody forgot to enter in the annual amount, it might throw an exception in the code depending on what you're doing. We're just going to set a default of 0. And we've done the same for the assets and the credit score itself. So that's just how defaults are set. And then the last item on this demo is, let me just hide that box, is insert row. Sometimes there's the need that as part of the decision table, you need to be able to do an action just once at the very start of the processing. And so what you can do is you can actually put in an action here. This might be, I don't actually have any here, do I? No actions. But you can put in like an action, we might have done a squiggly bracket, execute paperwork. So when you define no conditions here, that means it will always execute. So typically you want that at the start to set some default values or initialize something, or call a workflow to do something. So by leaving out all the conditions, you can just automatically call your action, whatever it is. So that's very, very useful. So that's cool. So that's the eligibility example. So the next one I just want to call out to people. So that, let me just open it up first.
John, we've got a couple of questions.
Should we?
While we before the next one.
Yeah.
You've covered a bit of this. Can you mix ands and ors and group them?
You can. So within so let me just let this load up first. So that's kind of what I was showing a little bit. Let me just make this a bit better. So this like automobile type. So within this row itself, so with decision tables, think about the rows are natural or, except for, not in this actual instance, it's a different type of decision table, but in the previous one, the rows are actually OR statements themselves. And then, as I was showing you before, if you wanted to, you can take that up there and you can put in a, that's a bad example, sit down. But, you can put in multiple option set values or text-based values in there. And actually, you can get right down and, you can put in, the statements in here. So you can use brackets, exchange rate is greater than 1, and, the imported sequence is equal to 0, or the created on is greater than UTC date. So you can get in within the decision table and just add in, if you've got really complex logic, you can do that as well. But for the most part, you should be just able to use the normal, like the rows and the conditions should get you 90%.
And there's another question around, is it possible to revert to the old formula designer interface? So I think you just need to show that the old system is all still there, and this is just new functionality.
Yeah. Let me just show you. So just a common one that people just do a sort. Just open it up. So this is so the old interface is still there. In fact, you would still write a lot of your formulas and business logic using that. So this example I'm just bringing up in the old interface shows a formula if you want to synchronize the account address getting changed and you want to synchronize that to all the child contact records. How would you do that? So it's just loading up right now. And you'll see with the new interface, what we've done is we've color coded the functions, the dynamic values, and the strings. So this is what this does is every time that the address changes on the account entity, so city, state, zip, province, it executes the formula. So what it does is it brings back all the contact records for that account, and then just does an update record on those, just synchronizing the address. And you can just see the color coding. It just makes it a lot easier to recognize. Square brackets is a dynamic value. A string reference is just the name of an actual field that you want to update. Any other questions, Bruce?
Yeah, there's one more on can Xcash. This is for Xcash now. Contain a formula instead of a value.
No, it can't. Not at the moment. That's a good question. If you can come up with a business scenario where you need that, whoever asked the question, I'd be interested to know what it is. But at the moment, I take that back. Actually, I take that back. You could use it in certain circumstances. You could use parts of the Xcash because it's really just you could just use a string version and you could just reference it in the formula. So it would work. Probably. I need to come back to you on that one. In some circumstances, you probably would be able to do it, but not for everything. That's probably the best way to say it for now. Any other questions from the group?
Great, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, no worries. So I know we're getting near to the end. 8 minutes left. So I really just wanted to show off this decision table because this is very, very powerful. So we have an example. Let me actually give you a demo of it first. Sales, automobile. So this is, we think this is going to be a very common scenario for Dynamics CRM. So as you know, Microsoft bought ADX Studio, which allows you to create portals. And they're also in 2016, they're bringing in document generation. So this is an example for car insurance. So one of the scenarios we envisage in the future that CRM is going to get more use for is you're going to have an ADX Studio portal facing for some company, and they're going to be collecting in data from the portal, just like this form here, or this, and this is the form that the customer service person would be interacting with. So they might get to do some car insurance, so code 5. They give it the year the car was first registered, so 2005. What type? If I could type, it would be handy. Luxury, so is it new? It's not new. We'll do yes. We'll do extremely high. Medical coverage, we want the theft rating is low. And we do save. So what's happening behind the scenes is the premium for these insurance for all the items that you've selected is being calculated by the decision table, and it's going to be placed into the premium field when it completes. So you can imagine an end user coming onto an ADX Studio portal, they're filling out their data, they click send, so that's coming back in as a record into Dynamics CRM. So the North52 decision table kicks in, does the calculation, so you can see there 2,950, and then you can imagine with CRM 2016, it's going to generate a Word document for that quote, and then a workflow can pick that up and send that out to the end customer. So a complete end-to-end process, and it's all point and click by Dynamics CRM. It's going to be a very, very powerful scenario. So how do we do that? So if we just pop back. So this is a different type of decision table, just to show you. So this checkbox down here, exit on first match, is unchecked, which means that every row of the decision table will execute. So you can see here, if it's of type compact, so if that's true, so you saw me picking out compacts before, I think, you can see here that the auto premium calculation, it's going to add 250. So this is like a running balance of how much the insurance premium is going to be. So compact 250. Then I think we had 2005, so it was greater than 7 years. So that'll be another 250. So you can imagine what this running balance is 250 plus 250 plus, and then let's just say I just had the potential occupant injury rate is high, so 900, just to make it easy. So you can see there that the insurance premium would be 1,400, would get returned back out to the end user. So very, very powerful. And then just to show you one thing here, if you wanted to be able to combine, if somebody came back and said, we don't need these two rows anymore, all you can do is just do Control X, go up to compact, bring that in there. I can go then just delete this row, and then I can switch my premium maybe to 400. So now it'll do matches. If it's a compact or a sedan car that's picked out, then it'll match. It'll add $400 to the running balance. So that's. I know we're really running out of time, so I better stop on this one. Bruce, is there any other questions before I just do a quick wrap up?
Just one privately is around schedulers. So we got a minute to demo schedulers.
Okay. Yeah. So just what scheduler? Go to settings. So all our schedules are here. So you can see I just have one schedule here. So schedulers, they're like running batch jobs within Dynamics CRM. So this scheduler is to do a sales overview. So this is actually a real world sample where they're bulk loading in data from an SAP system, and there was literally millions of rows of data in the invoice detail entity. And to build dashboards on it, they needed to have a rolled up entity, like an aggregate the data, and they needed to pre-aggregate it because there's all these platform limitations in CRM Online. So we needed to run a workflow every night that would aggregate the data and build the sales overview entity. So this schedule was set up daily, but you can see we've got quarterly, monthly, etc., etc. So daily, we're going to execute a schedule. And we're going to use the sales overview build workflow. So what happens every night at 2 a.m. is we execute this piece of fetch XML, which brings back all the accounts that have invoices. So it might be like 2,000 accounts. It then kicks off this workflow, one for each account, and the workflow then goes out and actually builds the aggregating data entity. And just to show you what the workflow looks like, because it's actually an interesting one. So you can see here, it's actually using a lot of process GDs. So this is the kind of our custom workflow activity. And you can see it's building the month to date current year, month to date previous year, quarter, year to date, and then year on years. So, and this would run, so there was a scribe job to bulk the data out at midnight from this SAP system into Dynamics CRM. And then at 2 a.m. the North52 scheduler kicked in to do the aggregation of the data within CRM. So that's just a quick overview of that. And then just to wrap up, I just wanted to call out just one other thing that we've added just to make people's lives easier. Just quickly show people. We've added this related node under source. So where before you would have to write a find value function. If you want to look up maybe that you're on the opportunity detail and you want to go up to the opportunity and then go up to the account, we can now easily do that, and you can just navigate the hierarchy just inside here. And then you can pick out the attributes that you want on it. So if we wanted to bring in account number, so you can see there it's going from the account up using the master ID to do a lookup to the next entity, to go up to the next entity, to go up to the next entity, and then bring back the account number. And then the last item just to show people is just under functions, because a lot of people were asking for it under Web Fusion, we've got a lot of new SharePoint functions. So if you want to connect CRM Online to SharePoint Online, we now have 7 or 8 functions that allow you to build really custom integrations between the two. So I'm going to leave it at that, Bruce, unless there's any other questions.
No other questions. Thanks, John.
Okay, no worries. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending the webinar. We will be over in Barcelona for the Convergence Conference starting on Sunday. We're at booth 53. Would love it if any of you guys are around to drop by the booth, and we'll give you some demos, answer any of your questions. We're going to be back over in the United States again in New Orleans for Convergence in the first week in April. So we'll catch you there as well. And otherwise, just send myself or Bruce or support at north52.com an email, and we can help out with any questions that you may have. Thank you very much again, guys, for your time today.